They found the old tape in a box that wasn't there yesterday. The attic was just as it had always been, a forgotten space filled with dust and memories, layered in grey light. But that morning, sitting in the center of the floor, was a single unmarked cardboard box. Inside, nestled in yellowed newspaper, was one VHS tape. Its label was blank, worn smooth by time or something else. There was no explanation for how it got there. No one in the family had put it there. They took it downstairs, an unspoken curiosity hanging in the air between them, thick as the dust they'd left behind. The label on the spine was almost completely faded, but under the light you could just make out two words: Blackwater. They slid the cassette into the old VHS player, and the television screen flickered to life with a familiar crackle of static. The picture resolved into a single, steady shot of a wide, empty field under an overcast sky. It was completely silent, unnervingly still. They watched for 10 minutes, but nothing happened. It was just a field. Disappointed, they ejected the tape and went about their day. But the next morning, drawn by a strange compulsion, they played it again. The field was still there, but it wasn't empty anymore. In the far distance, a solitary figure stood, so small it was barely a silhouette. It hadn't been there yesterday. Each day, the ritual repeated. With every viewing, the figure in the field was closer. The details became clearer, tall, gaunt shape with limbs that seemed just a little too long. It never moved, yet it was always nearer than before. Then, on the third morning, a new change. Behind the first figure, a second shadow had appeared. It was shorter, hunched over, as if kneeling in the grass. The family watched, a knot of dread tightening in their stomachs. The tape would automatically rewind itself after each viewing, yet the image it showed was never the same. It was recording something new, even while it was being played. By the fourth day, the house felt different. The father had stopped sleeping, his eyes wide and bloodshot, fixed on the dark screen even when it was off. He claimed he could hear a faint whispering coming from the television, a sound like dry leaves skittering across pavement. The mother swore that during the last viewing, just for a second, the figure in the field had lifted a hand and waved at her through the rolling static. They started leaving marks on the walls, little ticks to count the days, their hands trembling. The air grew heavy, charged with a growing paranoia that seeped from the television and into the very foundations of their home. On the fifth day, they gathered one last time, a shared, terrifying need pulling them back to the screen. They had to see what happened next. The tape began to play, the reels spinning faster than before. The field appeared, but the figure was gone. The family leaned in, their faces inches from the screen, hearts pounding in their chests, and then the image glitched. For a fraction of a second, the field was replaced by another scene. It was their own living room. On the screen, they saw themselves, their own backs, huddled together, staring at a television. The last thing they saw before the tape cut to static was the figure no longer in the field, but standing right behind them in the reflection on the screen. The tape showed them watching the tape. The television emitted a high-pitched scream and then went black. The old tape at Blackwater was never found again. The family, the house, the box all gone. The only thing left is the story. A whisper passed through the static of old recordings. Would you have watched it again? Subscribe for more dark case files.